delay.
Okay. All right.
Take two.
It is the moment that we've all been waiting for. The season finale. July 1st, Canada Day. But more importantly, free agent frenzy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tyler Rains alongside with my good buddies Brendan Dwyer and Cameron Reeser. We've got a lot of good quality stuff for you guys today, especially with free agency that just happened. We're wrapping up the results from day one, and it is the official off season. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Cameron.
Yeah.
A little bit earlier in the day, we saw a trade that sent over to the Leafs some key pieces that we needed. And this was a trade that took place between the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs, as we know. Over to the Leafs goes Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, who is a defensive defenseman, left-handed shot, but still very good on the blue line. Aaron Luchuk and a 2020 third-rounder previously acquired from Ottawa by Columbus, or by Ottawa from Columbus, in exchange for Connor Brown, Michael Carcone, and Nikita Zaitsev. What do you think?
Well, all I gotta say is our prayers have been answered. It's finally happened. Nikita Zaitsev's gone. And I'm so happy.
You definitely sound happy, that's for sure. Brendan, what do you think?
What do I think? Well, I think it's a good job by Dubas because he knows that he needed help on the blue line. So what does he do? He gets Cody Ceci, who I think is only 25 years old.
I believe he's 26.
25, 26, somewhere in that range. But as we've seen in the past, he is a nice addition to the blue line. He can play the position, and he can play the position well, Tyler. And I think you said it before that Jake Gardiner, you guys really didn't like his production out in Toronto. So how do you feel that Cody Ceci comes in now and fills that spot?
You know, I'm feeling pretty confident. I think that he's really gonna fit in well in Toronto, especially with, you know, that position that we needed, that right-handed shutdown defenseman. And a lot of people I've been hearing a lot of criticism from different people around the league, especially, Ceci's so bad, this, that, and that. You can't judge him until he's played a game in a Leaf uniform to say, oh, he's going to be a Leaf, he's going to be a good Leaf, or, he's going to be half decent. Like, you have to wait and see if anything happens where he's turns out like a Jake Gardiner, maybe. Does he turn over the puck a lot? Is he blocking shots out there constantly? What we need him to do is block shots and to just be that stay-at-home defenseman that we've needed for years.
I know.
And personally, I think Ceci's the guy.
I think Ceci's definitely the guy because if you really think about it, his tenure in Ottawa didn't go to fruition. And I think him playing alongside Morgan Riley will really benefit him and really bring an upstart. Well, will really bring him the reset of his career. As I even said Cody Ceci has potential to be something great. He didn't do that in Ottawa, but I think in Toronto, he'll definitely be their second guy behind Morgan Riley. And I think this is a great move by Dubas. And also adding in prospects like Aaron Luchuk. You also have Ben Harper in there. He's a great defenseman as well. 6 foot, I think he's like 6'6". He's a big body that we need on our defensive core. We need that shutdown defenseman as well.
Yeah, another defensive defenseman.
I'm going to say it right now. Great move from Dubas.
Now, before we get into anything else, I just want to ask you guys, who won the trade in your opinion?
Definitely Toronto, in my opinion.
I would go with Toronto here because they did shed the cap. That did indeed help them get more defensive depth. Plus, now with that off their minds, they can put all their attention into signing Mitch Marner, which is arguably their biggest name out on the market. That needs to be signed before another team comes in and tries to offer sheet that.
I completely agree with that. And, you think more Mitch Marner and all of them. We're going to get into the RFAs a little bit later into the episode. But we're going to save the best for last and open up with Joe Pavelski.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Pavelski, former San Jose Shark, the captain, is officially gone. He's been with the Sharks since 2003, signed a 3-year deal with the Dallas Stars, $7 million per season. Thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start it off, Phoenix. Brendan.
Go.
I'm going to start it off here by saying I don't know why they let their captain go. I really don't. But, I guess at the end of the day, it's a business. You do what's best for business. You do what will benefit the team in the future. And I kind of do think it was a good move, and I kind of think it was a bad move. The way I think it was a bad move was Pavelski can still produce at a pretty decent age, at age 34. They could still put up points. The good thing is they're getting rid of a lot of cap that they needed to sign RFA, like Timo Meier, which we'll get into in a little bit. And I think this is good for both sides. I think I'm going to say Dallas wins on the part. They get a good player. They get a consistent goal scorer in Joe Pavelski. And I think he's going to fit perfectly. Maybe he goes to the first line and plays with Seguin and Ben.
Oh, that would be lethal.
That'd be absolutely excellent. I'm going to say it right now. If Bishop plays the way he played last season, my goodness, watch out for the Dallas Stars.
And the funny thing is, Pavelski wasn't the only talent they added. Corey Perry just signed a 1 year,
I was going to bring that up.
$1.5
I was going to bring that up. Yep.
Yeah. So Brendan, let's go over to you first and see what you think.
Well, I think Pavelski holds no ill will towards San Jose. He gave that franchise so much of his time. The fans loved him. And I think just at the end of the day, like you guys said, it's a business. I mean, yeah, he's going to Dallas. Now they got Seguin, Ben, Radulov, Hintz, Dickinson, Cogliano. So I got an interesting question here for you guys. With the signings of Pavelski and Perry, do you think they can now contend for the Central Division title this year?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, I was gonna ask you if you wanted to go first. Yes. Personally, I don't think they're there yet. Yes, they added Joe Pavelski. He's a lethal forward. He's probably one of the best in the league that I've seen. 38 goals last year. He had an impressive season with San Jose. And then Corey Perry, who struggled a lot, of course, being with injury. Does it really mean they're going to contend? No. I honestly still think they're missing something. And that something is that key defender to not just Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg, but they're missing somebody like they're missing a star defender to play alongside those guys. If they really did want to, they need to just pick up a little bit more depth defense, and then they're ready.
So you would say at this moment they're good on their forward depth. They don't need to do anything else there.
Their forward core is probably top 5 in the league. Easily.
All right.
Easily.
Here's what I think. Do I think they are a contender yet? No. They're close to a contender. They definitely are. But like Tyler said, they need that key defender to really. They need that key defender, and you want to know what who that key defender could be, and they could ship somebody out for him. Tyson Barrie. could be a very good option.
Ooh, yeah.
Tyson Berry could be a very good option for the Dallas Stars.
If you go the route of you say Tyson Berry, then what would the asking price be by Joe Sakic if the Dallas Stars do indeed try to make a push for Tyson Berry?
I would say the price that he wants another defensive prospect. First off, just after drafting Bowen Byram 4th overall, they're going to need as much help on defense as they could possibly get. So they want a high-tier defensive prospect. They're probably going to ask for a 1st or 2nd round pick and maybe a forward in that respect too. It's going to be, the package is going to look a little bit something like that, if I had to take a guess.
I mean, it's an interesting take by you, Tyler, there. I mean, we'll see where Dallas decides to go, but I do give kudos to their GM going out and bringing help on their scoring depth. I mean, this is the same Dallas Stars team we're talking here that did take the Stanley Cup champion Blues to 7 games. So, I mean, I think these signings just only help their scoring more, and it's going to be an interesting year for Dallas.
All right, now I want to move on to one that I want to move on to something that we really found interesting, and it was former Winnipeg Jet Brandon Tanev signing a 6-year, $3.5 million average with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Brendan, I'll let you take it.
I'll start this one.
By the way, Cameron, we have a trade apparently.
We have a trade?
Darren Dreger just tweeted out the Leafs have acquired Alex Kerfoot from the Avalanche. Details in the works.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
right.
What were we on? Brandon Tanev?
No, Tyler,
Yes, we
while
are
we're
on
here,
the Brandon
let's talk
Tanev
about
contract.
that. Let's talk about that trade that just happened.
We will. We'll get to it. I just want to.
Okay.
I want to get the Tanev.
All right, let's start with Tanev.
All right, Brendan.
I mean, this is an interesting signing to me for Jim Rutherford and the Penguins because, as you know, Jim Rutherford really doesn't like to keep his first-round picks. So, I'm surprised it wasn't like a Dzingel or a Johansson or something along those lines. But Brandon Tanev is a good, solid winger, and for what'd you say the AAV was? 3.5?
3.5.
I mean, 3.5. I mean, that's a pretty nice deal for the Penguins there. I mean, they didn't overpay for him. I mean, they got him at the price they felt was acceptable. And we'll just see how he fares with Crosby and Malkin and Gensel and all the other forwards they have there on the Penguins.
Cameron, let's hear your take.
All right, Tyler, I'll take it next. But
all right.
But here's what I think. Do I think Tanev? Now the question, what every single Pittsburgh fan wants to know: is Tanev overpaid? Yes, by a slight amount. Yes, I do think Tanev is overpaid. But I guess that's the price that Jimmy Rutherford I guess wanted to sign him for, and I guess that's what he felt like he was worth. But I mean 29 points last season for being on the 4th line for I think it was the 4th line or 3rd line for the Winnipeg Jets. That's not bad. It's not bad. And he has the potential of being a second liner. He's got that potential. And I think he could play great with somebody like a Jake Gensel or something like that. I think he'd play great with him. And I think this is definitely a win for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but just slightly overpaid.
Yeah, that's I was going to say something similar along those lines. I think that Tanev is definitely going to be a very, very good depth forward for them. He could eventually move up to the second line to replace Phil Kessel even, but his comparable that I can think of right now is Brian Rust. They both had in and around the same points. Brian Rust had 35. He had 18 goals, 17 assists in the regular season. But their play style is somewhat similar. So if I had to say it's going to be anybody, it's most likely going to be Tanev and Rust on the line.
You do forget one big part here. They did bring in Galchenyuk. Now, it's gonna be interesting to see what the Penguins do with him. Do they go with him as a third line center? But I personally don't think he shouldn't be that because he puts up way too many points to be a third line center. So what I think they're going to do is move him to the wing. Now, the question is, does he get the nod to play with Crosby on the first line, or does he slide down to the second line to play with Malkin on the wing? So it's going to be interesting to see how Rutherford shapes his lines now with the acquisitions of Galchenyuk and Tanev.
Yep, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how he shuffles his lines around with.
And we will go to that trade. We'll go to that trade next, actually.
Yes. Right after we'll just do the rest of this stuff here, but I want to just take a look at Jason Spezza, who is a Mississauga native and just signed a 1-year league minimum contract to $700,000. Cameron and I are pretty hyped about that because it's Jason Spezza.
Mm-hmm. We're definitely hyped about it.
Oh my!
I think he would play perfectly on the.
Here we go. We've got a trade, ladies and gents.
Oh.
The Toronto Maple Leafs get Tyson Barrie, Alex Kerfoot, and a 6th-round pick in 2020 in exchange for Nazem Kadri, Calle Rosen, and a 3rd in 2020.
Wow!
There we go.
Okay, that's a blockbuster. All right. I'm going to start it off, Tyler. Win, 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 win. That's a win. We just got the jackpot. We just got the player. We just got the player that we were just talking about on this very podcast.
How ironic is that? And think about this, guys. We're sitting here recording, thinking, the Leafs are not going to make any blockbuster trades, and then all of a sudden, I just see on my phone.
This is huge for the Leafs. This is huge. Tyson Barrie and Alex Kerfoot. My goodness gracious, man.
Oh, man.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
I mean,
I don't even care. I'm saying it right now. Barrie, Riley, best tandem in one of the best tandems in the league.
Think about this, Cameron. If you think about this for a minute, it's going to be the defense is going to look something a little like this: Riley, Barrie, CC, Muzzin, Dermott, and whoever else. Dermott, and most likely Hartford.
Tyler, I'm cooking here.
Yeah.
And who's up? Me?
Brewing up a storm here, man.
All right. Brendan.
All right, I'll take this. I mean, kudos to Kyle Dubas. After Lou left for the Island, there were so many questions about the Leafs. What is Dubas going to do? How is he going to handle all this? I mean, I think he's done one hell of a job so far. First off, you bring in who was the first guy you guys brought in?
It was Alex Kerfoot.
Yep.
Kerfoot
and Barrie.
I mean, first you bring in Kerfoot, which really helps on your forwards. Like, it helps improve your depth there. And then you bring in Tyson Barrie. I mean, what can you say about this guy? Did really well in Toronto, and Dubas wanted him here. He definitely
he did really well in Colorado.
I'm sorry. I apologize. He did well in Colorado, but I guess Dubas wanted him here, and he made it happen. This is indeed a blockbuster, and Leaf fans everywhere should be celebrating because I think Kyle Dubas has got that team going on the right track now.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, Tyler. Let's get off of that for just a second.
I was about to talk about how Matt Zuccarello signed with the Wild, but I mean, hey, that's a pleasant surprise.
That was definitely a surprise right there. We were not expecting. You could expect anything here on the Proshot podcast.
Where expected becomes unexpected.
Yep.
Coming to a theater near you.
The unexpected trade.
Coming to a theater near you.
All right. We're going to try and zip through these because there are a couple of trades that I want to get through. And by the way, we will have a full list of free agent signings that are coming up, and I will put that in the description. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. It will be up later tonight. So until then, gentlemen, Matt Zuccarello signed a 5-year deal with the Minnesota Wild today.
I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked. I thought he was going to stay with the Dallas Stars. I honestly thought he was going to stay with the Dallas Stars, but then he throws a massive curveball and goes to the Minnesota Wild. Wow. Brendan, what's your thoughts?
I mean, this took me by surprise here. Zuccarello did pretty. I mean, he didn't do that bad when he came to Dallas. I was surprised that Dallas wasn't able to keep his services. But if you do look at the Wild roster now, they do keep Zucker on that because Kessel vetoed that trade. They do have Parise, who's beginning to age a little bit. But now they get Matt Zuccarello, who, as we've seen before, can put up goals. He did do it on Dallas. Now he brings his talents to Minnesota. I bet you Paul Fenton really wanted him, so he did everything in his power to get him away from Dallas, and he succeeded.
And it really helps Minnesota in a way too because they're enhancing their forward core. You know, obviously that team's getting a little bit older with Ryan Suter, Zach Parise, Devin Dubnyk, and Zuccarello isn't the youngest on the team, obviously, but it really helps out their forward core, and it brings in a little bit of mentor for guys like Kirill Kaprizov and different rookies like that who are going to be making their debut soon.
Yeah.
Would you say that the window on Minnesota is closing for them to actually contend in the Central?
Yes. It's definitely closing. I could definitely agree with that.
Absolutely.
All right, next topic.
Okay.
All right. We're going to move on to something that is not the biggest one of the year, but pretty damn close to it.
All right.
Sergei Bobrovsky to the Florida Panthers, $10 million a season for the next 7 years.
He becomes the second, and that means Sergei Bobrovsky is now the second highest paid goaltender in the NHL, behind Carey Price, who is obviously getting $10.5 million for the next 6 years.
Where do I even begin?
Well, I'm gonna begin this by saying the Florida Panthers are now legit.
Mm-hmm.
They're no joke anymore.
They are no joke. They are no joke. They're no joke.
I'm gonna put the Lindy Ruff gif right in here. Right in here.
How am I
no
doing
joke,
so far?
okay?
Good. How am I doing so far? Good.
Yes.
But I think Florida did an absolutely wonderful job here, and I heard also Samuel Montembeault may be on the move. And you want to know who that brings in? I think that brings in Spencer Knight to be the backup for Sergei Bobrovsky this season.
I can disagree with you here, Cameron. I don't think that Spencer Knight is going to be ready. He's gonna take a few years to develop. I think, as especially being a goaltender from the U.S. National Development Program, it's going to take quite a bit for him to get ready.
Brendan, what's your thoughts?
I mean, this is good for Florida. But first off, you got to give credit to Luongo. Originally an Islander draft pick, but then the Islanders unfortunately didn't want him anymore. Went to Vancouver for a while, but then with Florida, he did good there. He was their goalie for a while, but now that you bring in Bobrovsky, who is the only two-time Vezina Trophy winner, Florida really addressed the need in goaltending. And the fact that they got him for 7 years means that when Spencer Knight is indeed ready to come up he will have a really, really good mentor in Bobrovsky to learn from. And so I say good job to Florida for addressing a really major need and going to get it in Bobrovsky.
And not only
I
that,
agree.
Florida also has the likes of Noah Chari and Brett Connolly as well. So that
And
really
Anton Strawman.
and Anton Strawman as well. So they really kind of upgraded on all aspects of the ice, which they're going to be a tough team to contend against this year.
I mean, plus you have their big names there in Barkov and Ekblad and Dadonov and Huberdeau. So if you add that team together, I mean, Florida is looking like in a pretty good spot right now. So good job to their GM, whoever he may be, from getting what he needed through this free agency period so far.
Tom Rowe has done an amazing job at that. So all right, we're gonna get into a few 1-year deals that are pretty interesting to say the least. First off, I want to say that Peter Mrazek was re-signed by the Hurricanes, $3.125 for 2 years. It's a good extension. Yep. And this one I think is really going to surprise a lot of Islander fans. Robin Lehner does not re-sign with the Islanders and instead takes a 1-year deal to go with the Chicago Blackhawks for $5 million.
I think that he's really going to help out the Hawks, and the Hawks are really an upcoming team again. They just need to add a little bit more assets, and I think they will definitely be a contending team if Lehner decides he likes the city and he signs there long term. My goodness, watch out for Chicago.
Oh, I know, Brendan. Since you're the Islander fan, we'll let you take this one.
Okay. Well, Lou Lamoriello going into this figured Anders Lee wanted too much. So Anders Lee was definitely out of the picture because they were going to go all in on the Panarin sweepstakes. But now we all know how that turned out.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Robin Lehner going to Chicago. I mean, man, that guy played his heart out in New York. The fans embraced him. So I am really upset that Lou did not pull the trigger to resign him, but instead we do sign Varlamov. And I think the reason they were doing that was to try to lure Panarin to the Islanders. But as we all know, Panarin is taking his talents to Broadway. But back to Lehner here. Lehner was a great guy, class act. The fans loved him. He did win the Jennings. He did win the Masterson. And damn it, I am going to miss him. I wish him all the best in in Chicago with all the issues he's gone through. I do wish the best for him in Chicago, and I just hope Chicago fans can embrace him like the Islander fans did. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but at least we did get a goalie. I just wish it was Leonard, but we'll see how Varlamov pans out. Plus, I do think – go ahead, Cam.
No, you go. You keep going.
I mean, plus I do think in the fact that Sorokin may be coming up soon, but we still do have Thomas Greiss and Varlamov. So our goalies are going to be Varlamov and Greiss. So we'll see how Lou decides to play out the goalie situation in New York, which is going to be a pretty interesting one.
All right, so we'll just go through the. Speaking of Simeon Varlamov, Tyler.
Yeah, there's a couple of big pieces from around the New York area today. So, and this almost ties perfectly into it. But first, I want to say Montreal offer sheeted Sebastian Aho.
Yeah. I think this was a and Tyler, the offer sheet. The offer sheet.
Is barely used nowadays.
The offer sheet Ghost Town is officially done. It's over because for the first time in 6 years, we have an offer sheet. And it is the Montreal Canadiens offering Sebastian Aho $8.4 million AAV for 5 years. Tyler, thoughts?
I think that Marc Bergevin is a very bold man. And I think that really he he set the tone for the team. You know, they're looking for an elite forward. And Sebastian Aho is one of the many players that they could really go out and get. And potentially, if Carolina doesn't re-sign him, it could make Montreal a really lethal force, and that's something we kind of don't want to deal with. But I mean, yeah, I think Marc Bergevin, that was a bold move by him, and he made the right decision.
I mean, let's look at it from this perspective here. The Montreal Canadiens have not had a good first-line center since Saku Koivu days. So I think if you're Bergevin, you're listening to your fan base saying, we want to win, and we want to win now. And if they do bring in Aho, it does two things for them. Number one, it gives them a first-line center who is only 21 years old right now. And he's still really young, and he can produce points. We did see that, unfortunately, when the Hurricanes did sweep the Islanders in the second round of the playoffs. But it does point to Bergevin's boldness by doing an offer sheet when you guys have brought up we have not seen an offer sheet in 6 years until this year with the Hurricanes and the Canadiens. So, but Carolina still holds the cards here. They do have 7 days to match it. It's a matter of Waddell, who was surprised that this offer was really low when he got it. Question is, will he match it now, or will he let Aho walk to Montreal? We'll have to wait and see Waddell's decision. But
I personally think that Waddell has no question here. I think this is a no-brainer, Tyler.
If Don Waddell, for whatever reason, doesn't choose to match it, and Aho goes to Montreal, that is probably going to be one of the worst decisions they've ever made.
It's no-brainer here. Don Waddell needs to match this offer.
They need Sebastian Aho.
They need Sebastian Aho, and he's pretty. I don't care if I'm saying this, Carolina fans. You can say all you want. Sebastian Aho is your franchise player right now.
Definitely.
Do you think
they're pretty much your franchise player is pretty much in Don Waddell's hands right now? The fate is in his hands.
I mean, so I'm bringing up an interesting point here, guys. Do you think this Aho offer sheet by the Canadiens sets the tone for other RFAs out there, such as a Laine, a Marner, like those guys? Do you think that sets the tone here, or?
Oh, absolutely, no question, absolutely. And there's a lot of other RFAs out there that could be getting an offer sheet. I hear that maybe Kyle Connor could get an offer sheet. I hear maybe Braden Point could get one. Mitch Marner. It's all about where the cards fall into play.
It's all about who's has the deck, who's got the upper hand, and if you're playing a good hand that you were dealt, chances are you're going to make the right move. And if you offer sheet one of these guys, and let's say the Leafs are not willing to match an offer sheet on Mitch Marner, it's a 50-50. You could make or break your franchise because let's say you're offering them more than $12 million, right? Like it's going to be like a Patrick Laine or a Mitch Marner situation. You would have to give up 4 first-round picks, and you have to think to yourself, would that really be worth it?
I was about to say that, yep. I agree with that.
You have to kind of question, would it be worth it to do that, especially if your team won't be in contention for another 3 or 4 years at least?
I mean, and you bring up an interesting point there, Tyler. If you do go on this offer sheet and your team does bad for the 4 years and you do get the player, you're losing out on prospects there that could help your team. Like, this is the situation the Islanders are in right now. They have the cap space. That is not the question here. The question is Lou Lamoriello willing to risk 4 years of first-round picks to the Maple Leafs to bank on Mitch Marner will have a productive season like he has had in the past years he was with Toronto?
Well, and the thing is, too, with offer sheets, they're not lottery-protected picks. So whatever your
No.
pick is, your pick is that. Like, there's no protecting it from being
So
a top
just
10.
say like a team like what we're saying is what we're saying, guys. For example, let's just say somebody who has a lot of cap. Colorado. Somebody like Colorado who has the most cap right now offers Sheets Marner and they get him. They would have to give up 4 first-round picks for the next 4 years. So that means they would be giving up 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 first-round picks. All of them, respectively. And if they go in the lottery, that pick becomes Toronto's pick. That's what we're trying to say.
Exactly. So, and I think really that's why not many people really use offer sheets nowadays, because it's really it's a gamble.
Yeah,
it's a gamble because it's a gamble because of the compensation. You're absolutely right, and you really have to think about what's going to be the end result. Is it going to be you get a few good years out of whatever player, and then your team's still not in contention, or are you going to get those picks that you would rather have and build your team for the future?
I pit this situation as a high risk, high reward situation for any team looking to RFA Marner, like you guys were talking about before. So I would say, once again, it's a high risk, high reward situation. So we will just see what Don Waddell's decision is to see if he will indeed match Aho, because you guys brought up very good points here that Sebastian Aho is indeed the franchise player for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we move on, we've got the three metropolitan threats here, as I'm going to call them. The tri-state area has brought in some great names.
Hold on.
Anders Lee resigns, 7 years, $49 million.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the big one. Wayne Simmons signs a 1-year deal with the New Jersey Devils for $5 million.
And then the big
fish that was too big to fry, Artemi Panarin, signs an $11 million per season 7-year deal with the New York Rangers. Wow.
So that means he becomes the second highest paid player in the NHL behind Connor McDavid. Do I think it was worth that much? I'm going to say it right now. Absolutely not. You are not switching my mind. He does not deserve that money. He only deserves at least 11 mil. That's that. I don't care. Not over 11.5 million. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's over 100. I don't care if it's 100K more. He doesn't deserve it. He's still a point per game player. Yes, I get it. But it's just too much. It's too much to handle. But good for the Rangers for winning the Artemi Panarin sweepstakes, and hope he has a great rest of his career in the Big Apple.
All right, now, Brendan, do you want to take this one first?
I'll do this. Okay, Artemi Panarin to the Rangers. How do I feel about this? I feel horrible. Because this is the guy Lou Lamoriello was going to go all in on. And Panarin did leave money on the table with the Islanders to go take this deal with the Rangers. So, am I disappointed? Yes. Did we need a winger? Yes. So, with all our plans out the window, Lou Lamoriello brings back Anders Lee, and now the sad part about this is Tom Kuhnhackl is probably now a top 6 forward with the Islanders, which is pretty bad. Now we do need to call up Wahlstrom, Bellows, and Dobson, and hopefully Wahlstrom and Bellows can slide in the top 6. Am I disappointed Panarin went to the Rangers? Yes. Did he get overpaid a little bit? I would say yes. But if you look at this Rangers team now, I don't even know why I'm saying this because I hate the Rangers. You got Zibanejad, you got Kreider, you got Howden, you got Hedl. You
Capo
got
Caco.
Caco, and now you bring in Artemi Panarin.
And don't forget Jacob Trouba and Brady Shea as well.
And now you got Trouba and Shea. So, what from a rebuild perspective, how would you say this Rangers rebuild is going under Gorton?
Ding, 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 ding. Win.
Win. Absolutely.
I'm gonna chip in my 2 cents on Panarin as well, Cameron. And a lot of people make the argument, Panarin only did well because he was playing alongside Patrick Kane. 17-18, he wasn't playing alongside Patrick Kane. He put up 82 points, 27 goals, 55 assists. And this guy's got 320 points in 322 games. It's almost a point per game. So you can't tell me Panarin is trash or, he's not good without any other superstars when he is.
Yeah,
I mean,
he deserved every bit of that $11 million that he got. Yes, it's a little bit expensive, but he deserves every second of that.
I mean, you have to look at that situation here, and you have to realize that the Rangers are going to rely a lot on Panarin to be that guy.
He's their first line forward.
Score. Yeah, exactly. He's going to be on that line with Zibanejad and who's on the right-hand side there? Who is it?
It could be anybody at this point.
Exactly. I mean, the interesting piece to me on this Ranger team I see here is Chris Kreider. Now that you do bring in Panarin and you do need help at center, do you, if you're Jim Gorton, think about maybe moving Chris Kreider, or do you keep him here, Tyler? What do you see Jim Gorton doing now with Chris Kreider now that Panarin is on the team?
Well, I'm going to be honest here. I don't think it's a good idea to move Chris Kreider at this point. And the reason being is because if you already have a solid forward core, you really don't want to disturb that too much. And, especially with adding Panarin, I think Kreider's really going to be an equalizer. He's either going to play second or third line. He's not a first line forward anymore, but he's definitely a good depth forward as they need. And, would it be a good idea to deal him away? No, I personally don't think so. Could you benefit from getting something else for him? Possibly. But I think Kreider's going to fit right in.
I mean,
right into the Gorton plan.
I mean, if you say they do get rid of Kreider, what would you see the return for Kreider being?
A second and a third.
Yeah,
a second and a third, or maybe a low tier prospect.
I would say a second, a third, and a mid tier prospect.
Definitely something like that.
Okay.
Definitely something like that. And the Rangers. People can say the Rangers won free agency. I'm going to go on record and disagree. I'm going to say that the Panthers won free agency because not only did they sign Bobrovsky, they went out and signed a great third-line center in Noel Acciari, and they have an amazing depth forward in Brett Connolly, who did absolutely great with the Capitals last year. Like, it's incomparable. You can't say that Florida didn't win it. You can argue with me all you want, but there's no change in my mind. The Panthers easily won free agency, and it's only the first day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Panthers, kudos to their GM by going out, getting Bobrovsky, and on top of that, improving their depth with the signings of Acciari, Stroman, and who's the other guy?
Sergei Bobrovsky.
And Bobrovsky.
Yep, Bobrovsky.
Yep.
Let's move into some trades because there were a few trades that happened. We did cover the PK Subban trade on Twitter. If you haven't seen that, I will link our Twitters in the description below, and I will link you to the Proshot Twitter as well. We are going to start off with Calvin DeHaan and Alexi Sorella going from Carolina to Chicago in exchange for Gustav Forsling and Anton Forsberg. The Fours are going to Carolina.
I would say, I'm going to say it right now, Carolina got absolutely fleeced.
I mean, Cam, I would agree with you on that. Stan Bowman actually did something right for once in his life over in Chicago. Good job, Stan Bowman. Can't believe I'm saying that, but good job. You get DeHaan, who's a really, who was a former Islander, and he's a pretty good defenseman. I wouldn't say he's a I wouldn't say he's that superstar caliber defenseman you want, but he's a nice depth guy. He'll fit in there nicely. And kudos to Stan Bowman for getting his deal done.
I think it was a good deal for Chicago, especially. I don't think that Carolina benefited too much off of it, but definitely Chicago got that strong defenseman in Calvin DeHaan. You know, Carolina got a goaltender. And, you know, they also got a defenseman in Gustav Forsling. Was he Calvin DeHaan caliber? No. But he still half decent. And Alexi Sorella, last season, he was rather impressive. And, you know, he put up 54 points in the AHL in 69 games. And that was 30 goals and 34 assists. That's exactly what Chicago needed. They needed a prospect that they could count on. And that's what Sorella is for them. So they won that trade hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Now moving on to another. Yeah, go ahead, Cameron. What were you going to say?
Yeah, you just keep going.
Anyways, moving on to another trade. The Arizona Coyotes get Carl Soderberg from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Kevin Connaughton and a third-round draft pick in the 2020 draft. Brendan, we're going to you first.
I mean, Soderberg, he's pretty good center. I mean, he did pretty well in his time in Colorado. And I do think with the parting of Galchenyuk, he will have to play a bigger role than people anticipated him to play. I mean, they did bring in Phil Kessel, and they do have Clayton Keller out there. But it's going to be interesting to see how big of a role Soderberg does play now that Galchenyuk is indeed off to Pittsburgh. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see here how Soderberg will fit into that new roster.
Yeah.
All right, Cameron?
That's it. Yeah, I think this is a win trade for the Arizona Coyotes. Carl Soderberg, decent. People say he's... and I just want to shout out to the people, to the Soderberg haters out there. You don't understand what this guy meant to the Colorado Avalanche. He was a excellent goal scorer. He's probably one of the most underrated goal scorers in the league, in the entire league. And you're telling me that he's overpaid? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And not to mention, Carl Soderberg also has one eye. He's blind in one eye.
That's true.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's indeed blind in one eye.
Yeah.
And you think about his playmaking ability, it's incredible. Because, you know, you would have thought with being, he's got one eye. He wouldn't be able to see that much. You know, his hockey career is doomed and all that. He's seriously silenced his haters in the last few years, especially, I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
When he popped off. He had a 49-point season, 23 goals, 26 assists, and the year before that had 37 points. Most people wouldn't think that's a big deal. Personally, I do.
Yeah.
49 points and he was playing on the second line. That's pretty good. Arizona's got their hands full with him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely going to be a good move.
All right,
So-
we're not gonna. I don't know if we're gonna get to the big trade yet.
Not quite. Howla goes from Vegas to Carolina for Nicolas Waugh and a fifth. Nothing too big there.
Nothing to trade.
More or less of a cap dump.
Cap
Burakovsky to the Avalanche in exchange for Scott Komaschuk.
Cap dump.
Kosmachuk and second and a third.
Cap dump again.
They want the signing bonus there, or they want his rights. Colin Miller going from Vegas to Buffalo for a second.
Another cap dump. Could have been a Leaf, but
what could have been doesn't matter now. Dominic Toninato goes from Florida
to move on to the big trade.
Hold on. I want to. You know what? I want to do a couple of them before then. I want to talk about the James Reimer trade from Florida to Carolina for Scott Darling and a sixth.
And Scott Darling was bought out by
the Florida Panthers, yes.
Making him a UFA. But I do think James Reimer will get bought. Wait, he can't get bought out now.
Nope, but I think he's going to be a good backup for Carolina.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good backup for Mr. Peter Mrazek.
And Mrazek just signing an extension. He's definitely going to be a good backup. James Reimer's solid.
Yeah,
I've got confidence that he'll get to re-sign. And then the second trade that we're going to get into before
the big
Philip Joseph Kessel is Andrew Shaw returning to the Chicago Blackhawks with a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2nd, a 7th, and a 3rd in 2021 and 2020.
Shawzy is back in Chicago.
Shawzy's back in Chi-Town.
Well, I think that's good for you Blackhawks fans. You definitely need him. You need that grit, and I think he's going to be a big part to the Hawks' possible return to the playoffs this year.
And I think it's really, this is a good deal for Chicago, but it's also a bad deal because yes, Shaw brings the grit that they need. But was it really worth giving up a 2nd and a 3rd?
I don't think so.
Andrew Shaw is undoubtedly one of the agitators that are left in the league, and it's good that he's back.
All right, Tyler.
Go ahead.
Now the big one.
All right, we're gonna start off. I'm gonna announce the trade first. The Arizona Coyotes, long awaited, have acquired Phil Kessel, Dane Burks, and a 4th-round draft selection in 2021 in exchange for Alex Galchenyuk and defensive prospect Pierre-Olivier Joseph.
Now I'm going to start it off. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin, honestly. But I think I'm kind of split 50-50 on this trade. I'm still split 50-50. It's a good trade and it's a bad trade. A good part of the trade is that the Penguins dump cap. Obviously, that big cap. But you lose a superstar player in Phil Kessel. And now he's going to be the big player in Arizona that's going to play alongside Clayton Keller and make him a superstar. And that's not a good sign for anybody in the Pacific because Clayton Keller is going to become a great player now, and he's going to become a great scorer.
Hot take: Arizona's back in the playoffs. San Jose's out.
Oh, that's kind of a bold
prediction here,
that's
Tyler.
For another day. That's for another day.
That's my hot take, and we'll be continuing various side projects throughout the summer, but for now we'll just keep that for when we do it. But Galchenyuk's a hell of a forward. He's going to be that he can play both center and wing. So what I'm thinking is he's going to play the wing alongside Malcolm on the second line.
Yeah.
And Joseph, he's a hell of a prospect too. I watched him the past season in Drummondville.
And the criticism about the thing about him trying to about the weight situation and stuff.
Oh yeah,
you hear about that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if I can weigh in on this here, do you think that Galchenyuk can put up the Kessel-like numbers he was performing in Pittsburgh?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to go on record and say that he's going to be good, but he's not going to be, an 80, 90 point guy. He's going to be more like 60 or 70, I think. Especially playing alongside of getting Malkin.
I mean, with this trade now, where does that put both teams depth-wise on their forward core?
Yeah.
I think that Arizona's really bulked up, especially in getting Kessel. That first line is going to be lethal: Keller, Kessel, and probably most likely Derek Stepan.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to be formatted in such a way that it's going to be a deadly first line that could potentially get them back into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And for Pittsburgh, this really says, they are ready to go back into a contention mode, and especially with getting Galchenyuk, who, in past years in Montreal has done a great job at tending the forward line there. necessarily it's going to hurt Pittsburgh. No.
I mean,
it's not the best trade.
I mean, plus it was rumored that Rutherford had wanted Galchenyuk for a while now since last season, and he finally got his guy. And I guess when the opportunity arose to get Galchenyuk, Rutherford jumped at the situation. So we'll just have to see how it plays out for both teams.
But all we do know is next season's going to be super, super interesting.
Is it too early to say that Rick Tocchet is the Kessel Whisperer? Because Rick Tocchet really got along well with Phil Kessel in Pittsburgh, and then as soon as he left, he's like, that's one of the only teams that he would go to was Arizona. So it's pretty safe to say there is, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
So either way, that was a very, very interesting trade. And now before we end it off for the season, Bobby Lou hanging up the skates after, what was it, 19 years?
19 seasons.
19 seasons in the league. Never won the cup, but was just a phenomenal goalie. And
Definitely a first ballot off Hall of Famer.
Definitely. And I want to say this. The first chance that they get, they need to put him into the Hall of Fame.
Please do.
Above anybody else. Above anybody else. His career numbers are just impressive. His career save percentage is .919. His goals against is 2.52.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn impressive.
I mean, this guy was an original draft pick of, who else? The New York Islanders.
New York Islanders.
You know, the Islanders. The Islanders with their history of bad draft decisions. Thanks a lot, Mike Milbury and Gar Snow. I mean, Luongo would have been a great goalie in New York, but the Islanders, like with Chara, just said, we don't want you anymore, and they left. And first he went to Vancouver, where he had a really good career, and then he
went to Florida. My bad. Yeah, he went to Florida.
When did he go to Vancouver?
He went to Vancouver.
07, I think.
07 season.
I mean, well, Luongo's career, you can't say enough about it. He's a really, really good goalie. Unfortunately, he didn't get a cup, which is a bummer for him. If he had gotten a cup, then I bet he would be celebrating right now like everyone else would. But you still gotta give the man a round of applause for playing that long of a career at the level he did. And now he retires to greener pastures. So I wish him all the best. Islanders, why didn't you keep him? I don't know, but I guess we'll move on.
That's discussion for another
something
day.
else. Yeah,
definitely. But just Roberto Luongo, phenomenal goaltender, and just one of the best to ever put on the helmet and the pads. Bobby Lou, we wish you all the best in your retirement, and keep on staying on Twitter for us.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys?
I believe that is going to be it for the season.
Chicken nuggets.
Oh, now I want some nuggets, man. Get me all hungry.
You're welcome.
I want like those nuggets that you go down to the ACC and get, and then
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we're talking about chicken nuggets, but let's
Anyways, but yes, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for the continued support throughout the season. It's it's been a rough ride with some of our technology breaking, and we weren't able to upload for that whole stretch during the playoffs. So we appreciate the continued support, and thank you very much for that. And Cameron, from the bottom of our hearts, from Ryan, Cameron, Brendan, and all of us at Proshot, thank you guys for listening this season. We will be back in September, and we will be launching some side projects, which stay tuned to our Twitter if you haven't already. And we will see you next year. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. This has been your host, Tyler Rains, alongside Brendan Dwyer and Cameron Reasoner. Until next time,